Captain Jack Miller stared at the official summons on his screen, his weathered face reflecting in the soft blue glow. After 200 years of being ignored by the Galactic Council, Earth had received a formal invitation to attend an urgent session. Jack ran his hand through his short gray hair and frowned. "Is this some kind of joke?" he asked, looking up at Lisa Bennett, his first officer. Lisa shook her head, her blonde hair moving slightly with the motion. "It's genuine. I checked it 3 times. The encryption matches their official channels." Jack stood up from his captain's chair and walked to the viewport of the Defiant, a small but capable ship that served as Earth's diplomatic vessel. Beyond the reinforced glass, the vastness of space stretched out before them. Somewhere out there, the massive council station awaited their arrival. 200 years, Jack muttered. 200 years, they act like we don't exist. And suddenly, they can't wait to see us. Paul Harrison, the communications officer, swiveled in his chair. "Captain, I'm picking up unusual chatter on the subspace channels. Nothing concrete, but there's a lot of talk about Earth." Jack turned, his interest piqued. "What kind of talk?" Paul adjusted his headset. "Fragments mostly. Something about resources, reevaluation of status, and Protocol 16. Lisa tensed visibly. Protocol 16? That's the membership revocation code. The captain's eyes narrowed. The first contact war flashed through his mind. The desperate battles, the overwhelming alien forces, and the final stand that had earned humanity a reluctant seat at the galactic table. They had fought too hard for that place to lose it now. "Set course for the council station," Jack ordered. Maximum speed. The crew moved with practiced efficiency. Susan Kelly, the ship's engineer, reported from below decks through the intercom. "Engines at full capacity, Captain. We'll reach the station in 48 hours. As the Defiant streaked through space, Jack reviewed Earth's complicated history with the Council. After the war, humans had been granted membership, but gradually pushed to the fringes of galactic politics. Earth's representatives were seated at the back of chambers, their proposals routinely ignored, their concerns dismissed. Eventually, Earth stopped sending delegates altogether and the Council stopped asking for them. Until now. In his private quarters, Jack studied old war footage. Human ships, vastly outnumbered, using unpredictable tactics to confound alien battle computers. The aliens had expected an easy conquest but found a species willing to fight with unexpected ferocity for their home. The footage shifted to the signing of the peace treaty, the human delegates standing proud despite their wounds. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he called. Lisa stepped inside, holding a datapad. "I've been reviewing our diplomatic protocols. They're a bit dusty." Jack smiled faintly. "Like everything else about our relationship with the Council." "Jack," Lisa said, dropping formality for a moment, "this doesn't feel right. Why now? What's changed?" Before he could answer, the ship's alarm blared. They rushed to the bridge where Paul was frantically working at his station. "Massive energy signature ahead," Paul reported. "It's a Vexillian battlecruiser." Jack's blood ran cold. The Vexillians were among the founding members of the Council and known for their military might. "Are they hailing us?" Jack asked. Paul shook his head. "No, sir. They're just watching." "Maintain course," Jack ordered. "But charge defense systems, just in case." The Defiant continued its journey, the battlecruiser shadowing them from a distance. More council ships appeared over the next day, vessels from the Neridian Collective, the Zenith Conglomerate, and other powerful factions. "They're escorting us," William Grant, the security chief, observed grimly, "like prisoners." When they finally approached the council station, the massive structure took their breath away. A sprawling artificial world, it housed representatives from over 300 species and served as the political center of known space. "Captain," Susan called from engineering, her voice tight with concern. "Something's happening to our systems." Jack frowned. "Explain." "Our weapon systems are powering down. I'm not doing it. It's some kind of remote override." William moved to his security console. "Confirmed. We're being disarmed." "Can you block it?" Jack asked. Susan's fingers flew over her controls. "Negative. They're using access codes that shouldn't exist. It's like they have our blueprints." Jack's jaw tightened. Hail them. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the scaled face of a Vexillian official. Earth vessel defiant, the alien said, voice resonating with artificial. Translation: You are cleared for docking in Bay 74. Prepare for boarding inspection. This is Captain Jack Miller. We were invited as diplomatic representatives, not suspects. Why are you disabling our defense systems? The Vexillian's vertical pupils narrowed. Council safety protocols, Captain. All vessels must comply. This isn't protocol and you know it, Jack argued. We demand explanation. Explanation will be provided upon docking, the Vexillian replied coldly. Comply or be towed in. The screen went dark. Options? Jack asked, looking around at his crew. Alan Rodriguez, the ship's scientist, spoke up from his station. We could try to run, but with that escort we wouldn't get far. Lisa stepped forward. We should comply for now. We're here to represent Earth. Let's see what they want before we make this worse. Jack nodded slowly. Take us in, but everyone, stay alert. Something is very wrong here. The Defiant glided toward the designated docking bay surrounded by council ships. As they approached the massive station, Susan worked frantically to protect their vital systems from further intrusion. I've managed to isolate our communication array on a hidden subsystem, she reported quietly. If things go bad, we can still call home. Good work, Jack said, his eyes never leaving the approaching station. Let's hope we don't need it. As the docking clamp secured the Defiant, the crew gathered near the airlock. Jack straightened his uniform and took a deep breath. Remember who we represent, he told them. Whatever happens, we are the face of humanity here. The airlock hissed open to reveal a delegation of council representatives, led by Zoriax, a high-ranking, Vexillian diplomat known for his anti-human views. Captain Miller, Zorax said with a smile that displayed too many teeth. Welcome to the Galactic Council. We have been waiting for you for a very long time. Jack met the alien's gaze steadily. Funny, we were thinking the same thing. The council guards escorted Jack and his crew through the gleaming corridors of the station. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved about, some floating, others crawling, many walking on 2 or more legs. Despite the diversity, Jack noticed how the crowds parted for them, with many aliens staring or whispering as they passed. They act like they've never seen humans before, Lisa whispered. Most of them probably haven't, Jack replied quietly. Remember, we've been absent from council, politics for generations. Zorax led them to a suite of rooms decorated with what someone must have thought looked like Earth style. The furniture was almost right, but slightly off in ways that made it uncomfortable. The walls displayed images of Earth, but they were all at least a century old. You will wait here until the council is ready to receive you, Zorax said. For your safety, please remain in these quarters. Jack stepped forward. When exactly is this hearing scheduled, and what is its purpose? Our invitation was vague. Zorax's scaled face remained expressionless. All will be explained tomorrow. The council has important matters to discuss with Earth. After the Vexillian left, William immediately began scanning the rooms. What are you looking for? Paul asked. William ran a small device along the walls. Bugs, surveillance, and found on. He pointed to a small orb that looked like a decorative light fixture. There's probably more. Should we disable them? Lisa asked. Jack shook his head. No, that would only convince them we have something to hide. Let's be careful what we say, that's all. As night cycle approached on the station, the human delegation tried to rest, but sleep came difficult in the strange surroundings. Jack lay awake, staring at the ceiling, when a soft knock came at his door. Lisa stood in the hallway, her expression tense. We have a visitor, someone I know from before. In the main room stood a tall, slender alien with pale blue skin and large, expressive eyes. Jack recognized the species, a Noridian, one of the few council races that had treated humans with respect. This is Thetka, Lisa explained. We worked together during my diplomatic posting here before the council stopped inviting us. Thetka bowed slightly. Captain Miller, I apologize for this late visit, but it could not wait. You and your people are in danger. Jack gestured for the alien to sit. What kind of danger? The council has changed since your people left. Thetka said, voice barely above a whisper. The Vexillians have gained more power along with others who see non-council worlds as resources to be exploited rather than potential allies. What does this have to do with Earth? William asked, standing, guard near the door. Thetka's large eyes blinked slowly. A survey ship discovered something in your solar system. Something valuable. I do not know what exactly, but it has caused great excitement among certain council members. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. And they need us out of the way to get it. Precisely, Thetka confirmed. Tomorrow's hearing is a formality. The decision has already been made. What decision? Lisa pressed. To place Earth under protective custody, essentially declaring your people incapable of self-governance. It would allow council forces to occupy your system. Jack's hands clenched into fists. That's an invasion. Earth won't stand for it. Earth will have no choice, Thetika said sadly. The vote is already arranged. I came to warn you because my people remember how the humans fought for us during the First Contact War, when the Vexillians would have conquered us too. After Thetka left, the crew gathered to plan. We need to warn Earth, Jack said firmly. Susan, can you get a message out through that secure channel you set up? Susan nodded. I think so, but they'll detect any transmission eventually. Make it count then, Jack ordered. Alan, I want you working with Susan. Include everything. We know. Alan adjusted his glasses. What about the hearing tomorrow? Should we even attend? We have to, Jack decided. If we try to run now, they'll just use it as evidence that Earth is uncooperative. We need to hear their accusations and make our objections formal. The next morning, council guards arrived to escort them to the grand chamber. The massive room could seat representatives from hundreds of worlds, with the most powerful council members occupying the central area. Earth's, long empty, seat was at the very back, almost an afterthought. High Counselor Zorak stood at the central podium. Behind him sat representatives from 12 major species, the council's ruling body. Representatives of Earth, Zorax began, his voice echoing through the chamber. The council has called you here today to address serious concerns about the development of your species. Jack stepped forward to the speaker's platform. Earth is a sovereign world with a history of peaceful relations with the council. What concerns could possibly justify this sudden interest after 2 centuries of ignoring us? Zorax's expression hardened. Evidence has come to light of human military expansion and resource hoarding beyond acceptable levels. A large screen displayed images of Earth ships and defense stations. Jack recognized them immediately. These were defensive installations built after the First Contact War, now presented out of context. These are defensive measures, Jack argued. Built to protect our world after we were nearly conquered. They pose no threat to the Council. The Council disagrees, Zorax replied coldly. Furthermore, humans have been developing technologies deemed too dangerous for non-mature species. More images appeared. Earth's fusion plants, antimatter, containment research, and gravity manipulation experiments. Lisa leaned toward Jack. Those images are classified. They've been spying on us. Jack faced the Council again. Every technology shown is for peaceful development. Earth has never threatened the Council, but it was clear no one was listening. One by one, Council representatives rose to voice concerns about humanity, some clearly fabricated, others twisted from truth. When the evidence presentation ended, Zorax spoke again. The Council will now vote on Resolution 7729 to place Earth under protective custody for the safety of all galactic citizens. This is outrageous, Jack protested. We demand the right to properly address these accusations. Zorax ignored him. Those in favor? Hands, tentacles, and appendages of all kinds rose throughout the chamber. Jack watched in growing anger as world after world voted against Earth. The resolution passes, Zorax announced with satisfaction. Earth is hereby placed under Council protection. A peacekeeping fleet will depart immediately to secure the system. This is an act of war, Jack declared, stepping forward. Earth will defend itself. Guards moved toward the human delegation. William stepped in front of Jack protectively. Earth representatives are to be detained until the operation is complete, Zorax ordered. For their own safety, of course. And the guards surrounded them. Alan pressed something into Jack's hand, a small communicator. Message sent, Alan whispered. Earth knows. Jack nodded slightly as the guards began to lead them away. The betrayal was complete, but the fight was just beginning. The detention center deep within the council station was designed to hold beings from hundreds of different worlds. Jack and his crew were placed in a cell with atmosphere and gravity set to Earth normal, but the walls glowed with energy fields that would burn anyone who touched them. At least they're treating us like dangerous prisoners, William said, testing the field with a torn piece of fabric that immediately singed. That's some respect, I guess. Lisa paced the small cell. Alan, did your message get through to Earth before they caught us? Alan nodded. Confirmed sent. Susan's encryption should have kept it hidden long enough to reach home. Jack sat on one of the hard benches thinking. Earth has the warning now, but they need time to prepare. The council fleet will reach our system in days. So we need to slow them down, Susan said. And we need to escape, Karen Wright added. The medical officer had been quiet until now, observing their surroundings with careful eyes. I've been studying the guard rotations. The Zelborian guards change every 6 hours. They're followed by Vexillians who are much more alert. Jack looked at her with interest. What are you thinking? Karen moved closer to the group. Zelborians have poor vision but excellent hearing. They rely on sound to monitor prisoners. Vexillians use mainly sight. William caught on quickly. So we make a silent escape during Zelborian watch. Exactly, Karen confirmed. And I've noticed something else. The Zelborian who brings our food has a breathing problem. His scales turn slightly blue after walking. He's suffering from low oxygen levels. How does that help us? Paul asked. Karen smiled slightly. I'm a doctor. I could offer to help him. If he accepts, I might be able to create a distraction. Jack nodded slowly. It's worth trying. What about after we get out of the cell? William had been mentally mapping the facility. I worked security on diplomatic missions before. Most council stations follow similar layouts. Detention is usually connected to maintenance tunnels for emergency evacuation. We need to reach a communications center, Lisa said. If we can access the council network, we might learn more about their plans and warn Earth with specific details. And then, Susan asked, even if we send another warning, we're still trapped on this station. Jack's eyes narrowed with determination. Then we find a ship. The council may have disabled the Defiant, but there are thousands of vessels docked here. The next Zelborian feeding cycle arrived right on schedule. As the guard approached with their food trays, Karen moved forward. Excuse me, she said softly. I notice you're having trouble breathing. I'm a human doctor. I might be able to help. The Zelborian hesitated, his long snout quivering slightly. Prisoners do not help guards. Human doctors help anyone in need, Karen replied. It's our way. The guard seemed to consider this before stepping closer. What would you do? Karen described a simple breathing technique that might help his condition. As she demonstrated, she subtly moved closer to the control panel. The Zelborian followed her instructions, taking deep breaths and focusing entirely on Karen's guidance. While they were distracted, Jack carefully slid behind the guard. With a quick motion, he pressed the emergency release that Karen had pointed out and grabbed the guard's stun baton. Before the Zelborian could react, Jack had immobilized him with his own weapon. That won't last long, Jack warned as William took the guard's access card. Let's move. They dragged the unconscious guard into their cell and hurried into the corridor. William led them through service passages, avoiding the main halls where cameras would spot them immediately. The central communications hub should be 3 levels up, William whispered as they reached a maintenance lift. The lift carried them upward silently. When the doors opened, they found themselves in a dim, narrow corridor filled with cables and pipes. Station infrastructure, Susan observed. Perfect for moving around undetected. They followed the main data lines, knowing they would lead to communication centers. After nearly an hour of careful movement, they reached a small monitoring station where a lone technician was working. Paul created a distraction by damaging a power coupling, causing alarms to sound in another section. When the technician left to investigate, they slipped into the room. "Lisa, you're up," Jack said. Lisa sat at the console and began working quickly. Her fingers flew over the alien controls, using knowledge from her diplomatic service. "I'm in," she announced after several tense minutes. "Accessing their fleet deployment plans now." The screens filled with information, ship positions, jump coordinates, and mission parameters. The humans watched with growing alarm as they realized the scale of the force heading toward Earth. 5 capital ships, 20 cruisers, and dozens of support vessels, William counted. They're not taking any chances. "There's more," Lisa said, her voice tight. "I've found what they're after. There's a rare element in Earth's oceans, something called aqualuminite. It's apparently essential for new faster-than-light drive technology." "They're going to drain our oceans?" Karen asked in horror. "Not all of them. Just enough to set human development back centuries," Lisa confirmed. "The operation has a 90-day timeline." Jack's jaw tightened. "Download everything you can. We need to get this to Earth." Alan set up a secure transmission using the techniques Susan had shown him. "Sending now, but it won't be long before they trace this." As if on cue, alarms began to sound throughout the station. A voice announced security breaches on multiple levels. "They've found the guard," William said grimly. "Time to find that ship," Jack decided. "Susan, can you access docking bay information? From here?" Susan moved to another console. "Yes, there's a Noridian diplomatic vessel in Bay 92. Minimal crew, high speed." "Noridian," Jack repeated. "Detka's people. They might help us." They left the communications center just as security forces began to converge on their location. William led them through back passages, but station security was closing in from multiple directions. "They're trying to box us in," William warned as they reached a junction. Paul checked a station map on a wall terminal. "There's another route, through the civilian section." They changed direction, hurrying through more populated areas where they blended with the crowds of aliens. Council security forces were everywhere, checking identifications and stopping travelers. "We'll never make it to Bay 92, Lisa said as they ducked into a service corridor to avoid a patrol. Jack looked around at his crew, tired but determined. They had come too far to give up now. "There's a maintenance access that runs beneath the docking bays," William suggested. "It's risky, but it might be our only option." As they approached the access point, a security team rounded the corner ahead. Paul pushed forward to draw their fire, allowing the others to find cover. But he wasn't fast enough to avoid a stun blast that caught him in the shoulder. "Paul!" Karen cried out, rushing to him as Jack and William drove back the security team. "He's alive but badly hurt," Karen reported, examining the wound. "We need to move him carefully." Jack looked at his injured officer, then at the path ahead. Their escape had just become much more complicated, but Earth's future depended on them reaching. "That ship. Let's move," he ordered. "We're getting home, all of us." Admiral Olivia Martinez stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Liberty, watching the holographic display of the solar system. Small blue dots represented Earth ships taking positions around key planets and moons. Reports from across the system streamed in as humanity prepared for the coming invasion. "Status report," she commanded. Her second-in-command, Commander Frank Nelson, stepped forward. "All civilian ships have been evacuated from the outer system. Mining operations on Mars and the moons of Jupiter have been converted to defensive positions. The asteroid belt has been seeded with sensor drones." Olivia nodded. "And the message from Captain Miller?" "Confirmed and authenticated. They managed to send detailed information about the Council fleet before their signal was cut off. We don't know if they escaped." Olivia studied the tactical display. Earth's defense fleet was small compared to what was coming. Just 30 warships and about 100 support vessels. They had spent 2 centuries rebuilding after the First Contact War, focusing on defense rather than expansion. The Council forces will arrive in approximately 7 hours, Frank reported. They're moving faster than we expected. They want to catch us unprepared, Olivia said, but thanks to Jack's warning, we won't be. She turned to her communications officer. Send the order. Operation Hornet's Nest is now active. Throughout the solar system, Earth ships moved into hidden positions behind moons within the rings of Saturn and deep in the asteroid belt. Unlike the Council's organized fleet formations, Earth's forces scattered, preparing for the strategy they had trained for but hoped never to use. Meanwhile, aboard the Council station, Jack and his crew had managed to carry Paul through maintenance tunnels toward the docking bays. Karen worked continuously to stabilize his condition, using medical supplies they had taken from a first aid station. How is he? Jack asked quietly as they paused at a junction. Karen wiped sweat from her forehead. The stun blast disrupted his nervous system. I've managed to stabilize him, but he needs proper medical care soon. William returned from scouting ahead. Bay 92 is just beyond that access panel. I can see the Noridian ship, but there are guards at the entrance. Jack peered through a small maintenance window. The sleek, blue-tinted vessel sat on the landing pad, its curved hull designed for both atmosphere and space. 2 Vexillian guards stood at attention near the boarding ramp. We need a distraction, Jack said. Susan looked thoughtful. The docking bay environmental systems run through these tunnels. If I create a fluctuation in the atmosphere processors. Do it, Jack ordered. Susan crawled to a nearby control panel and began working with the tools they had gathered. After several minutes, alarms began to sound in the docking bay. Lights flashed as oxygen levels dropped, triggering emergency protocols. The guards looked around in confusion, then moved toward the environmental control station. Now, Jack whispered. They emerged from the access panel and moved quickly toward the ship, with William and Jack carrying Paul between them. Lisa reached the ship first and placed her hand on the entry scanner. Let's hope Thetka told the truth about Noridian sympathy for humans, she murmured. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then the ship's entry ramp lowered with a soft hiss. They're coming back, Karen warned, looking toward the returning guards who had spotted them. Everyone in, Jack shouted. They rushed aboard as stun blasts hit the ship's hull. The ramp closed behind them, sealing with a reassuring thunk. Inside, the ship was designed for beings taller than humans with high ceilings and elongated corridors. Susan raced to the engine room while Lisa and Jack headed for the bridge. William secured Paul in what appeared to be a medical bay, with Karen staying to monitor him. On the bridge, Jack found controls similar to those he had trained on during diplomatic missions years ago. He activated the ship's systems as Lisa worked on the navigation console. They've locked down the bay doors, Lisa reported. We can't get out, Jack smiled grimly. They designed these lockdowns to keep ships from launching, not to withstand weapons fire from inside. He activated the weapon systems. Susan, do we have power? Susan's voice came through the intercom. Engines online, Captain. These Noridian drives are amazing. Everybody hold on, Jack warned. He targeted the bay doors and fired. The ship's energy weapons tore through the doors, creating a hole large enough for them to pass through. Alarms blared throughout the station as Jack maneuvered the ship through the opening and into space. Multiple pursuit vessels launching, Lisa warned, checking the sensors. Jack pushed the engines to full power and the stolen ship accelerated away from the station. Behind them, Council security vessels gave chase, but the Noridian ship was fast. Set course for Earth, Jack ordered. Maximum speed. As their ship raced through space in Earth's solar system, the massive Council fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel near Neptune's orbit. The Armada moved with mechanical precision, led by the flagship of Grand Admiral Drestar, a veteran Vexillian commander known for his ruthless efficiency. No sign of Earth Defense Forces, reported a Vexillian officer on the bridge of the flagship. Drestar's scaled face showed no emotion. They are hiding or they have fled, it matters not. Begin the advance toward the inner system. The Council fleet moved forward in perfect formation, capital ships surrounded by cruisers and smaller vessels, in a defensive pattern that had won countless battles against lesser species. As they passed Neptune, sensors detected movement. Small objects appeared from behind the planet's moons, moving toward the fleet. Primitive missiles. The sensor officer reported dismissively. No threat to our shields. But these weren't missiles. As the objects approached, they split apart into hundreds of smaller devices that attached themselves to council ships. Then they detonated, not with explosions but with powerful electromagnetic pulses designed to disrupt alien computer systems. Throughout the council fleet, ships began to lose power or report navigation failures. Communication between vessels became confused. "What is happening?" Drestar demanded as his own flagship's lights flickered. "Some kind of electronic warfare," his officer replied. "Human technology should not be capable of this." As the council forces struggled to recover, Earth ships emerged from hiding. Unlike the organized formations of the council, they attacked in seemingly random patterns, striking from multiple angles, then disappearing again. On the Liberty, Admiral Martinez watched the battle unfold. "Just like the old days," she said. "They never learn that humans don't fight fair." Earth ships darted between the larger council vessels using their confusion to maximum advantage. They targeted engines and weapon systems, disabling rather than destroying when possible. "The council flagship is moving toward the inner system with their remaining forces," Frank reported. "They're trying to push through." Olivia smiled. "Right where we want them. Spring the trap." As the council fleet approached the asteroid belt, hundreds of hidden mines activated, creating a maze of deadly explosions. Earth ships waited on the other side, picking off vessels that made it through. The elegant battle plans of Grand Admiral Drestar were falling apart against the chaotic human tactics. The council forces had expected an easy conquest, just as they had 2 centuries ago. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy who refused to follow the rules of conventional space warfare. Back on the stolen Noridian ship, Jack and his crew watched the battle through the long-range sensors. "They're actually doing it," Lisa said in amazement. "Earth is holding them off." Jack nodded, pride in his eyes. The council forgot what humanity can do when cornered. It's time to remind them again. He pushed the engines harder, racing to join a battle that would determine the fate of their world. The stolen Noridian ship entered the solar system just as the battle reached its peak. Jack guided the vessel through debris fields and weapons fire, heading toward Earth's defensive line. On the bridge, Lisa worked to contact the Earth forces. This is First Officer Lisa Bennett of the diplomatic vessel Defiant, on board a captured Noridian ship. "We have critical information for Admiral Martinez." After a brief delay, a response came through. "Authentication code required." Jack nodded to Lisa, who transmitted a series of codes that only Earth military personnel would know. Moments later, Admiral Martinez's face appeared on their screen. "Captain Miller, good to see you alive." Her expression was stern but relieved. "We received your data transmission. It's already making a difference." "We have more, Admiral," Jack said. "We've discovered how to disrupt the Council command network. Susan thinks we can hack their communications." Susan had joined them on the bridge, leaving William to help Karen with Paul in the medical bay. "I studied their systems while we were on the station. Their entire fleet uses a centralized control protocol. If we can access it, we might be able to send false orders." "Risky," Martinez replied. "But it could work. We're holding them for now, but their numbers are starting to tell. Get to these coordinates and link up with the Liberty." As Jack piloted their ship toward the flagship, they passed through the main battlefield. Council vessels fired at smaller Earth ships that darted between them like angry bees. The humans were using asteroids and moons for cover, emerging to strike, then disappearing again. "They're fighting like we did in the First Contact War," Lisa observed. "The Council never adapted," Jack said. "They still think organized formations and superior technology guarantee victory." They docked with the Liberty amid continued fighting. Admiral Martinez met them personally as they boarded. "Your injured officer will receive treatment here," she said, as medical teams took Paul to the ship's medical bay. "The rest of you, come with me. We need to implement your plan quickly." On the Liberty's bridge, Susan worked with Earth's communication specialists to create an interface with the Council systems. Alan joined her, applying his scientific knowledge to help break through the alien encryption. "We're in," Susan announced after 30 tense minutes. "We can see their command network." William studied the tactical display. "Their fleet is regrouping. They're trying to force a path to Earth." Martinez nodded grimly. "We've bloodied them, but they still outnumber us. If they reach Earth orbit, they can bombard our defenses from a distance. Then we need to stop them here," Jack decided. "Susan, can you target their flagship specifically?" "Yes, but what do you want to send?" Jack thought quickly. "A retreat order to half their fleet. Make it look like it comes from Grand Admiral Drezitar himself." Susan worked with the communications team to craft the message, carefully matching the protocols and formats used by the Council military. With a final command, she sent it. On the tactical display, they watched as nearly half the Council ships suddenly broke formation and began moving away from Earth. "It's working," Lisa exclaimed, but their celebration was short-lived. The Council flagship transmitted a fleet-wide authentication code overriding the false command. "They caught on quickly," William said. "Drestar isn't a fool, but we caused confusion," Martinez pointed out. "Look, the Council formation had become disorganized. Ships trying to return to position collided with others, creating more chaos." "Time for Phase 2, Jack said. "Admiral, I need a small team to board that flagship." Martinez looked at him as if he had lost his mind. "Board the flagship? That's suicide." "Not if they're distracted by a direct assault," Jack argued. "A small team could get aboard and access their central systems. We could end this battle with minimal casualties on both sides." After a moment of consideration, Martinez nodded. "What do you need?" Within an hour, a plan was set. The Liberty would lead a direct assault on the Council flagship, drawing their attention and fire. Meanwhile, Jack, Lisa, William, and Susan would approach in a small, stealthy craft and board through a maintenance airlock. As they prepared to depart, Karen joined them. "Paul is stable. I'm coming with you." "We might need medical skills," Jack agreed, knowing better than to argue with his determined medical officer. They launched during the height of the battle. Earth forces converged on the Council flagship from multiple directions, forcing the massive vessel to focus its defenses outward. Their small craft, equipped with stealth technology, slipped through the perimeter undetected. They docked at a secondary airlock, and William quickly bypassed the security systems. Inside, they moved through maintenance corridors, avoiding patrols of Vexillian soldiers. "The command center should be 5 levels up," Lisa whispered, consulting the ship layout she had memorized from Council records. As they navigated through the massive vessel, Earth ships continued their assault outside. The flagship shuddered, with impacts, emergency alarms blaring throughout. They reached the level below the command center when a squad of Vexillian guards spotted them. William and Jack engaged them while the others took cover. In the confusion of the fight, they became separated. "Keep going," Jack called to Lisa. "Get to the command center. We'll catch up." Lisa led Susan and Karen upward, while Jack and William dealt with the guards. Using stun weapons taken from the Council station, they managed to overcome the Vexillians without raising further alarms. When they finally reached the command center entrance, they found Lisa, Susan, and Karen waiting. "Vickers, doors sealed," Lisa explained. "We need a Vexillian officer's authorization." Jack looked at the unconscious guard they had dragged with them. "Will his hand work on the scanner?" Susan nodded. "It should." They pressed the guard's scaled hand against the security panel. The doors slid open, revealing the flagship's command center. Inside, Grand Admiral Drestar and his officers turned in surprise as the humans burst in. "How is this possible?" Drestar demanded, his voice a mixture of shock and outrage. Jack stepped forward. "You underestimated humans." Again. William and Lisa quickly secured the other officers while Susan raced to the main control station. Karen kept her weapon trained on Drestar as Jack approached him. "This battle ends now," Jack said firmly. "You will order your fleet to stand down." Drestar's vertical pupils narrowed. "I will do no such thing. The Council has decreed that Earth will fall." "Look outside," Jack gestured to the view screen showing the battle. Your perfect formation is broken. Your ships are being disabled, one by one. Earth will not fall today or any day. Susan called from the control station. I've accessed their systems. I can broadcast to the entire fleet. Jack nodded. Good. Admiral Drestar, you have a choice. Order your forces to retreat, or we will do it for you and you can explain to the Council how humans took control of your flagship. For a long moment, the Vexillian commander stared at Jack with cold hatred. Then, slowly, he moved to the communications. Array. All vessels, this is Grand Admiral Drestar. Cease attack and withdraw to Rally Point Omega. I repeat, cease attack and withdraw. Throughout the solar system, Council ships began to disengage. The battle wasn't over, but the immediate threat to Earth had been neutralized. Jack stepped closer to Drestar. Now let's discuss new terms for Earth's relationship with the Council. The Council does not negotiate with lesser species, Drestar spat. The Council will learn, Jack replied calmly. Or this defeat will be just the beginning. 3 days. Later, in the Grand Council chamber, representatives from Earth stood not at the back but at the center. Jack, still bearing bruises from the battle, addressed the assembled delegates. For 2 centuries, the Council ignored humanity. When you remembered us, it was to try to conquer us. That ends today. Earth demands full membership with equal voting rights, or we will withdraw completely from Council space. Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. Such demands from a species that had just defeated their military were unprecedented. News of the battle had spread throughout the galaxy. Other marginalized species watched Earth stand with growing interest and courage. The Council's perfect authority had been challenged, and the ripples would be felt for generations. As Jack finished speaking, he looked at his crew standing proudly beside him. They had journeyed from prisoners to diplomats, from hunted to hunters. The Council would never forget human might again.